So we're going to continue learning how to name alkanes. Remember how I told you guys that when you have these alkyl substituents, which are these branches that are coming off of the parent, and if it's one carbon, it's called methyl, two carbons, ethyl. And I told you that if it's three carbons, there are two types of three carbon. So there's a three carbon substituent like this, and then another three carbon substituent, and they look exactly the same, but this three carbon substituent is connected to the parent from the end carbons, either this end or this end. This three carbon substituent is connected from the middle carbon. So let's pretend that this is a big long parent here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Big long parent, okay? So these are 10 carbons in a row. And if I was going to do the longest parent chain, this would be, this is the parent. Now you can always double check to see if, oh, what if I pick this up and come around this way? Is it still long or is it longer? But no, if you do this, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So longest parent chain is 10. This would be a decane because it's 10 as the parent. Now you circle the substituent. This three carbon substituent that is connected from one of the end carbons, this is called a propyl. So the name of this compound would be, you got to number it. You number it this way, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The other way, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So numbering it left to right makes this a 5. It's lower number than 6. So this one over here is called 5-propyl decane, all one word. Notice the dash between the number and the letter. All right, so that's one type of three carbon substituent. The second type of three carbon substituent is this guy down over here. It's hooked up from the middle. So let's say I've got something like this. All right, let me double check here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got to try all the different ways and try to see the longest one. But yeah, it looks like the longest one is going to be 8. So here we go, 8. All right, what do? We circle the substituents. Here's a substituent. Here's a substituent. Here's a substituent. This is one carbon. What is one carbon alkyl group called? Methyl. This is a two carbon alkyl group, ethyl. This is a 3 carbon, but it's hooked up from the middle carbon, not the end carbon. So this is not called propyl. This is called isopropyl. You've all heard of isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol. That's just something like this with an alcohol group attached. We'll get to that in chapter 14. Okay, so we do the rules. We have 3 substituents. We know that our parent chain is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the parent is going to be octane. That's the end. Now we need to alphabetize these. This is a methyl, this is an ethyl, and this is an isopropyl. So E comes before I, which comes before M. Now, which way should we number it? Left to right or right to left? If you number it left to right, this would be 1, 2, 3. You would hit your first substituent at 3. But if you number it right to left, you hit your first substituent at 2, so you got to number it this way. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. So you got your parent, you did the numbering. Now we need to alphabetize the substituents. Since E comes before the other two, it's got to be first in the name. Where is the ethyl? It's on carbon 6. So it's 6-ethyl. Dash. Remember, you always put a dash between a letter and a number. 6-ethyl dash 4-isopropyl erase this so I can add it in later, dash 2-methyl octane. Okay, makes sense? All right, so two types of propyl groups. One is a regular propyl and one is an isopropyl. What's the difference? The regular propyl is hooked up just from the end, so it could be hooked up from this end or this end. The isopropyl is hooked up from the middle carbon. There are 4 different butyl groups. A butyl group is an alkyl substituent that is made up of 4 carbons. So let me show you the 4 different types. So you could have a butyl group that is 4 carbons hooked up from the end. So I'm going to just draw my parent as this hypothetical line drawing here. Big, big, long parent going endlessly, and this is a butyl group. So this is butyl. All right? If it's hooked up from this end or that end. Now, if you have a butyl group that's hooked up from the second carbon, and we're going to talk about types of carbons in the next video, primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. But right now, if it's hooked up from the second carbon, so here's my parent, big, long, hypothetical parent, line drawing parent. Doesn't matter, you don't need to name the parent in this video. This over here, because it's hooked up from the second carbon, not the ends, this is called a sec butyl. And the sec, like I told you earlier, is underlined. Okay, now these two are the first two. I'm going to erase this and I'm going to show you the other 2 butyls. This is 4 carbons, but they're attached like this. So it's still a butyl, but it's a certain type of butyl. This carbon here that's got 3 other carbons around it, it's called a tertiary carbon. We're going to talk about this in the next video, like I said. But for now, I want you to look at this and see, okay, that's my alkyl group. It's attached to this hypothetical long alkane. Don't worry about naming this. But this, when you see something like this, a carbon in the middle with 3 carbons attached to it, this is called a tert butyl. Okay, tert butyl. And then finally, the last butyl, it sort of looks like this, but flipped over. So it looks, actually the way I remember it, I think of it an isopropyl with an extra carbon. So remember the isopropyl was 3 carbons and you hook it up in the middle. So this is an isopropyl extra carbon. And then this whole thing is hooked up to a parent. This is my hypothetical parent. Again, don't worry about the name of this thing. But this substituent is called an isobutyl. One thing to know. Iso is alphabetized. That I is alphabetized. But tert and sec are not alphabetized. So you ignore the tert and you alphabetize based on the B. The other thing that isn't alphabetized is the di. Remember how we had a dimethyl there in the last video? Di, tri, tetra, you don't alphabetize those. Okay? All right, good. So in our next video, I'm going to put a couple of organic molecules on this board, and they'll have all sorts of substituents, and we'll use the rules that we've learned so far to name them correctly. Okay? And honestly, the only way you can get really good at this is to just practice. Your book has tons of examples. The homework has tons of examples, so just make sure you practice. Okay, see you in a bit.